President of the Technion, my friend Professor Yitzhak Epeloig, distinguished guests from abroad, and my colleagues from Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, first, I would like to thank Professor Ze'ev Tadmor and the organizing committee for organizing this very interesting and exciting conference on the higher education, and for inviting me to give this presentation. I would like, in the beginning, to highlight a little bit the structure of the system in Israel, and I would like to apologize for those from Israel, or most of them should be acquainted with it, but it's very important from our guests from abroad. Let's see. So, we are talking about the Council for Higher Education, the Planning and Budgeting Committee, the universities, and the institutions for higher education. So, the Council for Higher Education was established by law 1958, and then few amendments, and it's operating now as the top umbrella of the higher education in Israel. Its responsibilities mainly are accreditation, to grant permit for opening, or even revoke accreditation from institution, to approve degree and programs, to give the designations to institutions, and it's a very sensitive issue now because we have now few application from colleges to get the designation as universities. And moreover, we have branches of universities from abroad operating in Israel. So the council is licensing them and not really controlling their academic programs, which is also very important. And then only recently, the Council decided, together with the Planning and Budgeting Committee, to plan, organize, and carry out quality reviews in the Israeli higher education system on two levels. One at the level of the individual program of study, and at the institutional level. I think it's a very sensitive, important step, and I will refer to it later. Now, the PBC, VATAT, Planning and Budgeting Committee, the Council delegated to the Planning and Budgeting Committee its responsibilities in planning and budgeting. So, the PBC is in charge of planning and budgeting the higher education of Israel, and its terms have been defined by the government in 1977. So, the PBC serves as a buffer between the government, on the one hand, and the institution of higher education, on the other hand, and maybe at the end, again, we shall refer to this subject. The main role of this PBC is to allocate exclusively the budget to the institution of higher education, and I emphasized here, safeguarding academic freedom, which was mentioned before, safeguarding academic freedom and assuring the advancement of research and teaching. Now, the PBC should ensure the institutional budgets, that they are balanced and executed according to the plan. It also deals with the coordination, to plan, to draw up plans for the coordinated and efficient development of higher education on the national level, and to recommend to the Council to open new institutions or new units that are new in the existing institution, surely after examining the planning and budgeting points of view. Now, we are altogether 7, 4 professors, 1 college professor, and 2 representatives of the public from the economic, business, and industrial sectors of the economy. So this is the general structure of the higher education system in Israel, the Council and the PBC. The PBC, most of its budget is going directly to the institution of higher education. We are also supporting the ISF, the Israel Science Foundation, which is one of the best sources for the competition between Israeli scientists to get funds for the research. And also we are supporting student aids. Now, as to the budget, we are planning the teaching and the research. I mean, we are supporting the research and teaching in the universities. And these are the 2 main components that are really the 2 main components of the budget that the PBC is giving to the universities. Teaching and research. And as to research, we have, there is a competition between this institution about the portion that each university will get, and I will refer to it in a minute. On the other end, the teaching is based on an absolute model. Now, going back to the teaching component. Here, we have 4 parameters that influence the competition between the universities. First, we have the income from competitive research funds, 35%. The income from non-competitive research funds, 20%. And the merit of scientific publication, 15%. And doctoral student, 30%. So this is the total of the parameters that really influence the money or the funds that the university will get from the PBC based on this factor for research. However, referring to the college or to the non-university institutions, academic institutions, the main factor and the only factor is teaching. And we are not supporting research in colleges, and this is our policy. What really happened during the last 10 years, maybe even more, is the diversification of the higher education. We have now different types of institutions to provide alternative solutions for the growing demand for higher education all over the country. And you will see in the next slide the 8 categories of higher education institutions that we have now in Israel. We have universities, the research universities, we have the Open University, arts academies, comprehensive academic colleges, Academic College of Engineering, and colleges under the auspices of universities, academic colleges for training of teachers. This is also a very sensitive issue now in Israel, and there is going to be a tough debate about its future, and non-budgeted colleges. So you can see that we are talking about various types of institutions. And what's really interesting, first, referring to universities, as you can see here, the number was not changed. 8, including the Open University, is a fixed number during more than 15 years. But on the other end, there is a significant increase in other institutions, colleges, and teacher training colleges. So you can see here that we are dealing with over 50 institutions for higher education now. And the total number of students climbed up to close to 200,000 now. It's a very significant increase during the last 10 years. 115,000 of students studying for the bachelor degree. Now, what is also important is the proportion of entering students in higher education in the average age cohort is really climbing up, and we are now about 43%, which is very significant. The revolution, if we can say revolution, is that the number of students studying for the first degree in the university decreased significantly. During the last 10, 15 years, we can see if in close to 90% of the students studying for the bachelor degree were in universities, now it's less than 50%. It's 47%. We can see here a very significant decrease. Now, what are the factors that made the growth in students' numbers possible? First, more young men and women recognize the importance of higher education for social and economic progress. And this is all over the world now. The growth and diversification of institutions of higher education. And moreover, the institutions themselves developed programs of study, and they offer academic degrees in a wide variety of subjects, some of which were not previously offered in Israel. So the opportunities are very, very broad. And moreover, the success of Israeli industry, especially in the field of high-tech, brought the fruits of higher education to the attention of young men and women, and this also affects and pushes the students towards the higher education. Now, let's see what is our strategy and what are we planning for the next 5 years. You can see here that the higher education is the only public sector that has a multi-year agreement with the Treasury. And I must tell you that there was a very big fight around this subject for several years. And finally, last year, we signed the agreement with the Treasury, a 5-year agreement between the PBC and the Ministry of Finance, which helps us to plan the next 5 years. And everybody understands that for such a system of higher education, it's impossible to work with a budget for 1 year. You have always to look forward. Maybe even 5 years is not enough, but at least to see what is really going up to happen during the 5 years. Now, what are the major targets of this 5 years agreement, 2004, 2008? First of all, enhancing scientific excellence. I will refer to it in a minute. Second, establishing quality assurance in teaching and research. It's about time that we shall focus on it and see that the quality, both in universities and colleges, will be according to what we really expect from them. Third, stabilizing the finance condition of the universities. It was mentioned before that the higher education system went through severe cuts in its budget, and few institutions, I can say, almost collapsed. So the main target of this new 5-year plan is, to stabilize the finance condition of these universities. And finally, to expand the access to higher education, and again, I will refer to it later. Now, as to the excellence in Israel scientific research. Israel Israeli scientists produce about 1% of the world output of articles in international scientific journals. Always it depends on quality, but I can tell you again, we are talking about high quality. And we can see here that this is more or less consistent during the last 12 years. It's very interesting to mention that our neighbors are improving, and you can see here that the Middle East and North African countries are contributing more and more to the general scientific publications. Now, in relative terms, Israel ranks third in the world in the number of scientific articles per capita and fourth in citations per capita. We have here this complicated picture, but I will go over it. What I said really summarized the main results of this figure. So Israel excels in the field of computer science, both in terms of research output and of the impact of the research. And Israel also ranks highly in the impact of its scientific articles in the field of biomedical research, chemistry, and physics. We can see here is a table that represents Israel's place in the world rank. And you can see here that from 94 to 01, we improved in biomedical research from 5 to 3, and chemistry from 7 to 5, Earth and space science from 14 to 6, which means that the Israeli science in general is doing its job in its achievements, and I think that the last two scientists from the Technion that got the Nobel Prize really represents what the scientific community of Israel really deserves. A major feature of Israeli scientific research is in international character. 96% of Israeli authorized scientific articles are in natural sciences and technology, in the natural science and technology, are published in foreign journals. So it's international character. And moreover, there is a strong collaboration with foreign scientists. It's also a very representative or significant of the Israeli scientific community. Now, we come to the major question that we are facing today. Scientific excellence and universal access to higher education. Are they contradictory? Can they go in parallel pathways? We know that selective access is changing and progressing toward universal access. And the monolithic system is being replaced now by the differential system. We see many institutions with different missions, and this is a response to the changing needs of the economy and the different aspirations of the students. We can see here the rate of growth of student number, as I said before. Again, we can see it in universities. You see, it's more or less the same. But in colleges, there is a very steep increase, the same in teacher training colleges. So we have two sectors. We have two sectors in higher education. We have the universities on the one hand that combine research and teaching, and we have the institution of higher education whose mission is to provide academic teaching at the highest possible level. And these two sectors operate within one system, with one funding agency, the PBC, and under the supervision of the Council for Higher Education. According to Israeli law, all academic degrees of universities and other institutions are equal. Now, what is the main role and what do we expect from universities? First, they should compete for scientific excellence at world level, and I think that they are doing it. They have to prepare the next generation of scientists and the future academic staff. We can see here the increase in postgraduate students, students who are doing research in universities. And this is our future. We are fighting the phenomena that we have with the master degree. Here we can see a very nice increase in students studying for the master degree, but unfortunately without thesis. And you can see that those who are doing research, the increase is relatively low. So the PBC decided to support, to give an extra support to those students who are going to do their master with thesis. So again, pushing our policy toward enhancing research. Now we have all other institutions, sorry I call them colleges, but we know that we have different institutions. Not all of them are really designated as colleges. The colleges should provide a place to anyone who can benefit from academic education. They must promise diversity in institutions of higher education. They reach new groups in the population that were underrepresented in academic institutions before. And they are oriented to the labor market and teach employable skills. We can see here the picture of students in the center and periphery of Israel. You can see here really what happened. Take the northern district from 90 to 04. You can see the significant increase in bachelor degree students, close to 7% now in the northern district, or over 15% in the southern district. I think these are the achievements of the colleges, the non-university institutions around Israel. So what is the balance between universities and colleges? The practical disciplines, engineering, health professions, management, communication, have a lower research output and are mainly taught in colleges. I say it in general, I am not referring to the Technion. I must apologize here. And the non-practical fields, philosophy, history, physics, chemistry, life sciences, etc., taught primarily at research universities. 5 minutes, okay, I finish. So, the PBC policy. Excellence, by definition, is restricted to a small percentage of the top students and scholars. The size of the core of excellence should not change as a result of the expansion of the entire higher education system. We should keep this core of excellence. Society should provide a place and an institution of higher education to anyone who can benefit from academic education. Due to limited sources, the numbers of students in higher education institutions will not increase significantly. As I said, we shall expand, but under control, what we say. Now I'm applying to the government. The government should allocate extra funds to unique research projects through the PBC. I'm referring to nanotechnology, biotechnology, and other fields that I think today the government should give extra funds because they are topics that are going to be essential for developing the excellence of science in Israel, competing what's going on in other countries. On the other hand, the universities should increase their efforts to receive more research funds from abroad. And finally, we have really to focus on quality assurance. I think it refers both to teaching and research. It's about the time, and the Council is going to lead it together with the PBC. We are going really to follow the various topics that are studied in colleges and universities and to follow the research. And we are going to push and to be sure that we are really reaching the goals that we planned before. So, to sum up my presentation, to be optimistic, I know we have limited sources, no doubt about it. We have the 5 years agreement. We know that the 5 years agreement helps us, as I say, to stabilize the situation and to continue with our policy, but it's not enough. And we know that we have here a balance between the scientific excellence and universal access, which means that we shall we shall push our scientists toward more, to more excellence. But on the other hand, we shall do our best to try to enable more students to join the system. And again, it depends on our budget, and I'm sure that we shall do our best and hope that we will succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grossman. I think we'll take about 5 to 7 minutes for questions and comments from the audience. Please. Any questions? Yes, please.
I understood the question. First, as you should understand, our budget is limited. So if we can support today 7 research universities, and we support them, and tell you the truth, I don't think that we support them enough. Especially when I'm referring to research. Research is very expensive. It's not only the staff members running the research. I'm referring to the students doing their master and PhD degrees including research, which is the basics, you know, for future research. So it's very expensive, and we don't have the funds. It's another question if really Israel needs another research university. I must tell you that it was discussed in the Planning and Budgeting Committee, and we decided that we are not going to open a new research university for the next 5 years.
Yes, go ahead.
The question is, whether we are not all victimized by your approach. The very fact that you make this distinction between research between the universities and colleges, and you stick to it, which was motivated, I understand, from budgetary reasons, carries over to discrimination without regard to realities of life. I believe that non-subsidized academic institutions can grow to become very fine research institutions. And the approach of the Council of Higher Education is to actually to prevent and deny the right of non-subsidized academic institutions, regardless of their academic accomplishments, to become and be treated like universities. As we see actually in real life is that we have more and more hurdles, bureaucratic hurdles, to move forward, positioned by the Council of Higher Education in order to maintain this distinction between a university and a college. And indeed, what it is doing is creating a tremendous burden on the development of higher education outside of the system of funding of the government.
So, Professor Rothman, you are right. I mean, when I said about our decision, it was referred to budgeted institution. You are talking about institutions that are not budgeted by the government. You are correct. I mean, this institution should go through the system of the Council for Higher Education and Planning Budgeting Committee, first to prove that they have the infrastructure for university, that their staff is doing research, and that they have a significant fraction that is really involved in research, and that they can show that they are capable of running what you call the university. You are correct. I mean, our decision is not to such institutions, and we are open to discuss it.
One last question, and we'll have to postpone discussion to this afternoon. So I'll take one more question, please. Owen.
There are a number of groups in the Israeli society that are. Thank you. There are a number of groups in the Israeli society that are underrepresented in the higher education system, namely people from developing towns, the ultra-Orthodox group, and the Arab sector. They are underrepresented because of social, cultural, and economic reasons. Now, how do you reconcile between this fact and the need to bring them into the higher education system, and the decision not to increase the budget or the number of students in the higher education system?
Thank you. We have a special program now for the ultra-Orthodox fraction. We are doing our best, and the finance minister is helping us in really developing special academic program for really pulling them toward our, sector, working sector. And there is some success. We are working hard on it. And Professor Thaler, the Vice Chairman of the Council for Higher Education, is sitting here and is in charge of this role. And I think we are trying to do our best to pull more and more ultra-Orthodox students to our system. As to the Arab sector, we are happy that the number of students in colleges, and you know, both in North and in the South, the Arab students are sometimes more than 50% of the students, and sometimes close to 50% of the students. And we are doing our best. We have also a wing in our PBC that really supports the Arab students and giving them the opportunity to join the system. So I think in general, as you have seen in the tables that I brought before I showed, there is an increase in number of students all over the country joining the higher education system. And part of them are Arabs, and I really am very happy with it.